Hello everybody, and welcome to the CAC Library tutorial video on MLA Citations, the 8th edition version. My name is Bonnie Simmons. I'm a librarian at the Superstition Mountain campus, and I just wanted to talk to you a little bit today about when to use citations, how to build citations, and your works cited page as well. So just as a quick overview, the MLA citation style stands for Modern Language Association. It's used a lot in the English classes and literature classes, but some other courses as well. APA citation style is another one that you might hear about for sociology or the honors program. The MLA 8th edition came out in the summer of 2016. There are still some folks that are using the 7th edition of the MLA citation, so double check with your professor if you're not sure which version you should be using. This slideshow is primarily about the 8th edition and how to set those up. So why and when do you need citations? Anytime that you're pulling information from a book, if it's not common knowledge, you'll want to include a citation to show where that information came from. So if you're taking direct quotes and using the same words that the other author used, you'll use a quotation mark and also use citations for that. Or if you're just paraphrasing something that they've said and putting it in your own words, go ahead and show that attribution, show that that came from that particular author, include a citation, okay? These help to strengthen your arguments, to provide backup for the statements that you're making. The citation also shows your reader where that information came from, so that if they want to follow up and read that article or read that book, they know where to find that information. And it's also a sign of respect for the author that you're quoting or pulling information from, the work that they've done, to show that you understand how much work goes into these academic sorts of papers and books. If you're not sure if you need a citation, double check with a librarian or a writing tutor just to be sure, and remember that if you don't include a citation, that's considered plagiarism, and there are academic consequences if you're caught plagiarizing information. So please, if you're not sure, go ahead and include a citation just to be on the safe side. Each citation that you're going to use has two parts in your paper. The first is the in-text citation, where you're actually explaining and writing the text of your paper. You want to give your author's name, and if there's a page number, say what page it was that came from. These two examples are from Neil Gaiman, a quote that was taken from his book, The View from the Cheap Seats. So you'll see that I've got quotation marks, nothing much had changed except everything. Then the author's name, Gaiman, comma, the page number, the parentheses, and the period. Okay, you can either include the author's name or show your quote and then put the author's name in the parentheses. At the end of the paper, you're going to have a works cited page that give all the details for those citations that you've used. So in this case, you want your reader to be able to find the book, article, or movie. In this case, it's a book. So it has all the information that you're going to need to track down that book if you'd like to read it on your own. Let's take a closer look. Okay. The parts and pieces of the citation, you're going to need the author's name in a last name, comma, first name format, okay? So you have to remember to reverse that from what you're used to seeing. The second part of the citation is going to be the title of the source. This is usually going to be in italics. There's a section here that talks about a container. So if you're talking about a particular article from a journal, the main part that you're talking about is the author of the journal article and the title of the article, because that's where you get your information from. But that article is contained in something like a journal, or for another example, if you're using a song from an album, you want to include information about the song first, and then the container is the album, okay? So you might include editors or volume numbers, things like that, just to provide a little more information, okay? You also need to include a publisher who put out that album or that book, the date of publication, and in some cases you're going to have a second container. So if you find an article in our database, in addition to saying who wrote the article, the title of the article, and the journal it came from, you also want to provide your reader that second container, which is what database did you go to find that information. We'll look at a couple examples and this will make a little more sense. Okay, so the book that we used in our example was by Neil Gaiman, called The View from the Cheap Seats. This is the first page of the book so that you know where to find that information. The author's name, Neil Gaiman, when you do your citation, is going to be last name, comma, first name. The title of the source, circled in blue, is the name of the book, The View from the Cheap Seats. The publisher is circled in yellow. Who's the company responsible for publishing and making this available? It's William Morrow is the name of the publisher. And the date of publication is going to be on the next page in very small print. So we're going to take that information and put it onto our works cited page. Gaiman, Neal, period. The title of the source is in italics. The View from the Cheap Seats is the name of the book. The publisher, from the page before, William Morrow, and the date that it was published, 2016. So you can see for books, it's not too complicated, it's just a matter of finding the pieces and assembling them in the right order. The next resource we're going to look at is an article from a database. So remember, we're going to be talking about not just the article, but the journal that it came from, and then that second container, what database did we find the article in? So let's take a look. Here's an article from a database. It's a little difficult to decipher, so let me explain this for you. The name of the article is Locating Lakeside, Wisconsin, Neil Gaiman's American Gods and the American Small Town Utopia. The author is Jake LaJeunesse. The journal it came from is Myth Lore, Volume 35, Issue 1. The date is given here not as like a month, but fall winter 2016. That's the date or the issue of that particular journal. And the page numbers that it comes from starts at page 45. You can also see circled in blue, Academic One File is the name of the database that this came from. So this is actually a screenshot from Academic One File describing all the information about this article. When we go to set up a works cited citation for it, remember author, last name, comma, first name, so LaJeunesse, comma, Jake. The title of the article goes into quotes. Because it's a smaller piece, it doesn't get italics. Italics is for sort of the bigger chunks of things. So the title of the article is going to be Locating Lakeside, Wisconsin. The title of the journal, it's circled in yellow, is Myth Lore. Volume and issue, circled in purple, 35-1. Publication date, page numbers, and database is circled in blue. You also, for the 8th edition, want to include the URL from the browser. This was not part of MLA 7, but it's part of MLA 8. So at the top of the browser, when you've pulled this up, go ahead and copy and paste the URL up at the top of the browser. So let's see how this looks when we actually get it set up on our works cited page, all the parts and pieces. Okay, so here we go. The author, Jake LaJeunesse, but remember, last name, comma, first name. The title of the article goes in quotation marks. Locating Lakeside, Wisconsin. Go ahead and include the entire lengthy title of the article. Okay. The name of the journal is in italics, Myth Lore. Volume and issue in purple. Go ahead and include also vol, VOL, and NO for number. Okay. The publication date, we're taking it straight from the database, fall-winter 2016. The page numbers, okay, 45 to 64. If you've got a PDF file that you open, you can actually look and see. A PDF is a scan of the article as it would have been in the journal, so you can actually look up the page numbers if you have a PDF file. If you have HTML, just go ahead and put the first page number, page 45. That's okay. The next part is the database that we got it from. So we found this article in Academic One File. So include that, the part in blue, put it in italics because it's kind of a big thing to look for, one of the larger chunks, okay? And the last part, that really lengthy part, is the URL, the address where we found this information. You can drop the HTTP that comes over when you copy and paste it. That part you don't need, but make sure you include all of this lengthy copy and paste. And do remember, it's much easier to copy and paste this than to try to type it by hand. Okay, there is an easier way to get a citation for an article from our databases, and it's really very easy. So you can see here, locating Lakeside, off to the right, there's citation tools. So all of our databases include citation tools where you can copy and paste an entire citation straight out of the database. So you can see LaJeunesse, Jake, locating Lakeside, Wisconsin. Sometimes you have to go in and clean things up a little bit. Occasionally it makes mistakes, but this gives you a really good head start. Gives you an idea of what you need to italicize, what parts you need to include. All you have to do is go in and straighten it up, make sure that it matches what you need. Okay. There's also an option to use RefWorks. So when you're in that citation tool, you'll see an option to export the citation. So RefWorks is a new citation management system that we just added, and what it does is it lets you compile information about all of your citations, even for multiple papers, okay? Then you can sort them out into different folders. Let's say one folder for your history class, one for your first paper in English, one for your second paper in English. It makes it really easy, and it also helps you to build that works cited page because you can check off the ones that you want to include, and it'll pull all of those citations together for you. Again, you'll double check them, but it does a lot of the work. So if you have any questions, speak with a librarian or check to see if there's a RefWorks video that'll show you a little bit more about how to use that. But don't forget that that's a powerful tool in your library repertoire. Okay. When you get to the works cited page, so let's say that you've finished your research, you're including multiple sources, okay? So the first thing that I would recommend is double check the citations and make sure that there aren't mistakes, because again, sometimes the databases or citation tools may make some mistakes, so go through and do a double check, okay? When you're ready, start a brand new page in your paper, okay? Still in the same Microsoft Word file, but start a brand new page. Works cited should be at the top and centered, okay? Make sure it's works, plural, cited, okay? Use Times New Roman or whatever font was used for the rest of your paper. Look for a hanging indent. So that's an option that's in Microsoft Word. If you have any trouble finding it, let somebody know. We can, either a librarian or a writing tutor, we can help you find that. But it's actually under indentation. There's a special indentation called hanging, which means, do you see how the first line is extended like Blomqvist root? Oh, what a good name. And everything else is indented. That makes it really easy to pick out where each one starts. That's what the hanging indent does for you, so that you don't have to worry about tabbing over. The computer takes care of it. It makes things so much easier. Okay. Also remember, when you're building your works cited list, to put the citations alphabetically in order. So you can see that it goes B for Blomqvist, G for Gaiman, L for La Jeunesse, okay? That makes it easier for your reader to find the sources that you're looking for, or the sources that you've used, okay? And the last thing to double check is, when you're writing a paper, sometimes you'll add new sources or take sources out. So do a double check before you submit your paper. Make sure for each in-text citation that you use that you have a works cited entry at the end of the paper. And also make sure for each works cited entry you have at the end of the paper, it matches up with at least one quote or paraphrase that you actually have in the text of your paper. So just do a double check to make sure that everything matches the way that it should. If you need any help with MLA citations, any kind of questions, remember you can check with your professor for further clarification, find out how he or she would like those done. You can make an appointment with a writing tutor at any of the CAC campuses for one-on-one assistance. The writing tutors spend a lot of time every day working with papers, so they're very good at spotting mistakes or being familiar with how to set up some, sources that may not be quite as familiar, like using a movie or an interview or something like that. All the libraries also have a one-page handout using MLA format 8th edition. It's on purple paper that show you how to set up basic citations for books, for articles, for government documents, those sorts of everyday sorts of resources. And another great resource, if you haven't used it before, is the OWL Purdue website. Okay, it's run by Purdue University, so it is vetted and checked. All the information is good. You get examples, explanations, sample papers. All you have to do is go into Google and put OWL Purdue and it will come up. Just make sure that you get the MLA 8th edition style so that you're getting the correct information. They do also have, if you need to do papers in other formats like APA or MLA 7, they also have great information about those. It's a wonderful resource. If you have any other questions, you can feel free to contact the library. You can email us at library@centralaz.edu. You can call the Signal Peak main campus library. Their number is 520-494-5286 and ask to speak to a librarian. If you'd like to contact me, my name is Bonnie Simmons. I'm at bonnie.simmons@centralaz.edu. And don't forget, we also have other library tutorial videos that you can watch that may be helpful about APA citations, about plagiarism, using the citation tools in the databases, and how to select and research that, or select and narrow a research topic. Thank you guys so much.